Just me and you. Yeah. Just me
All
and
right,
you. Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
You and me,
Hold on.
me and you.
You and me and me and you. Here comes the countdown. So much power. I have so much power on this end.
Was that like like a visual and audio version of your ADHD?
Yeah, that could be.
Oh, what's this? Oh, let's start the. Oh, what's this? Oh, let's start the. Oh, what's this? Oh shit! I should really start the podcast.
The true version of that was once it was all said and done, I would have been somewhere else in the room.
right. And when you came in, you weren't sitting.
Like, oh wait, hold on, we're starting.
You weren't sitting in front of the camera when it starts.
Like, all of a sudden, it would have been the full 30-second countdown, and I would not have been sitting there and be like, "Uh-oh, Eric got distracted."
You're funny. That's funny.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I feel bad that we just wasted the good stuff with the Patreon off stuff with our chats of haircuts.
Well, I mean, we can rehash it.
I think
you like my hair, the way it looks.
Yeah.
$55 might be too much to pay for a haircut every month as a dude.
Beard trim. Haircut / beard trim,
yeah. 20% is a valid tip for a haircut.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was it.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Right.
We hit the high points for folks. Yeah.
I remember whenever I would get a haircut as a kid, my dad always gave us $2. And I don't know what tipping was. My dad just always gave us $2 to give to the barber. But that was when I was like little. So it was like, I remember when I was getting a haircut, I was like, is $5 enough? And I was like, well, I used to give 2 as a kid. So with inflation, 5 feels reasonable.
Yeah.
And but then when I did the math, I was like, oh, 20% for a hair, like 20%. Yeah, that feels about right.
I always struggle with the tipping etiquette. Right, we had AC guy come to the house and do the yearly AC check. Tip him? No, right? Like, I mean, like, he's getting an hourly wage. I don't tip the grocer or the person at the checkout person at the grocery store. Actually, I don't even go to the checkout person at the grocery store. I check my own stuff out. Yeah. I am complicit in the dehumanization of the American market.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Delivery guys, right? So I used to tip them when they would bring stuff to the gym for the reason that I wanted them that it was the same dude twice in a row. And then, so like, I was like, oh, clearly we're on his route. And so if I want this stuff to get here, because we're a difficult place to find, right? So I tipped them. But when they come to the house, I don't have cash.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I didn't think way, way far in advance to get stuff, and I always think of did you ever see the movie My Blue Heaven? Steve Martin is a like mid-level mob type guy, and he becomes an informant for the FBI. So they put him in witness relocation, and Harold Ramis not Harold Ramis. Who's the Honey I Shrunk the Kid? Is that Harold Ramis?
Oh, Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis plays either the FBI agent or the marshal, whoever is in charge of kind of watching Steve Martin. He lives in that town, or he's and so Steve Martin relocates. Is Carol Kane?
I think a great movie already, by the way.
Like Carol Kane, yeah, and they're like in middle effing nowhere America. But it's like full on, late 80s, early 90s Americana. And he's got this like crazy, actually kind of looks a little bit like this, right? He's got this crazy like grayed out flat top. Steve Martin does. But like there's a scene where Lauren Holly, from Dumb and Dumber, right?
Yeah.
She plays a cop. She plays like a local cop. But she's, he's super attracted to her. So he's hitting on her all the time. And there's one scene where she's like standing in front of she's in like the frozen food section of the grocery store, and he comes over and he goes, "You're so hot. You could melt all this stuff." And she just sort of like swoons. But like, so the beginning of it, Steve Martin is trying to tip everybody. He's tipping. He's tipping. God, you just said his name and I can't think of his name. I want to say Harold Ramis. Rick Moranis. He tries to tip Rick Moranis. He tries to tip like the other cop. He tries to tip the other FBI. Rick Moranis is like, you can't tip an FBI agent. Like you can't. That's right. And he goes. Steve Martin's line is, well, I don't believe in tipping. I believe in over tipping. And I always think to myself, like, huh. And I think it might actually be, he said sometime too in that movie, or somebody else, like, you tip what you're worth. And I was like, oh, that's a little rough around the edges, man. Like that. It's like, oh, so if I don't tip someone, like I'm shitty, but then
Right.
but then write it the fuck down. Like give me the social cue rules, or is this the larger test of life?
Yeah, I don't.
Can
So,
you read the rules without knowing the rules?
well, then isn't have you heard that like tips is actually an acronym? Have you heard that?
No.
So tipping and apparently all I've ever heard is like this is how it's done in Europe. I'm like it was very vague, but so tips actually means to ensure prompt service. And so you tip so when you go to a restaurant, you tip before your meal. You tip to ensure that you're going to get the best quality whatever. It's not based on like how much you're going to spend, or it's the idea is you give, hey, you're going to take, I'm taking care of you, you're going to take care of me, let's call it even.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
I mean,
there was that.
then it don't call it a tip, just call it a bribe.
That's exactly like I thought that was like so you're just bribing, hey, but it's total like the slipping the guy that slipping the host a tenner to make sure you get to a table quickly.
But
It's
then
the same idea.
But then it's also the same. You reverse the argument, and sorry to like I appreciate that, like that this. So maybe the entering conceit here is I'd have no answer. I don't not like it. I don't like it. I don't like it's sort of one of those things where it's like I'm constantly in conflict with the whole system.
Yeah.
But at the same token, I'm actually kind of like I kind of appreciate it. But so understanding that, like I'm not arguing.
The rules are confusing.
Right. I'm not arguing either way. It's just like crap. Like I want some like 65, 70-year-old. I want my buddy Scott. He's not 65. He just turned 60. But I want Scott to like call in and just tell me what to do. Right. Like, see, Daddy, just tell me what to do. Like I don't, so that then I can maybe pass that on to my boys or to somebody else maybe in someday. Yeah. But anyway, so look at it the other way. If if we do it in the way we do in America, I'm withholding the tip until the very end. There's a distinct power inequality or dynamic there. Like I'm trying to think. It's too early in the morning, man. I can't come up with words. But the customer has way too much power in that situation. And with the nature of kind of our social dynamics, most likely the person being served is going to be of a higher power dynamic anyway than the server. And so they're constantly kind of holding the tip over the person's head. Yeah. Whereas if I want to create a system where equality is sort of like institutionally baked in, well, then I got to take that away and just pay the person a livable wage. Yeah. And like say, no, good service and, professional execution of your job is baked into your wage, into your salary. If it's resting on the relative sort of, did I like this person? Did I think this person agreed with my opinion? Did I think they serve right? Like, and half the time the slow service isn't the server's fault. Shitty kitchen, poor layout design, overworked, bad management, right? Like all kinds of other things, but yet they take the brunt of it. So the lowest person on the totem pole continues to get the greatest amount of shit for a bad system. Seems to me an equally crappy situation. No pun intended, crappy situation, or maybe pun intended. But again, like But then it also can work if I'm like a go-getter and I'm a real hard charger and I'm kicking ass. I could crush on tips, right? So it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't have no
It's one of
answer.
those. If you decide to get in the serving business, you got to know you got to take the good with the bad. Because I remember when I worked at Fido, and I would since I was new, I would get the lunch shift.
Fido,
Fido,
Skadoosh.
but I would get the lunch shift, and I'd walk out of there like, maybe it's like 6 hour shift, and because lunch is relatively slow, and it's probably small groups, like I maybe made $10 an hour, which like sucked.
Yeah.
But then I'd go and work I'd work like a Friday evening, and I walk out of there with like at the end of the day what felt like $30 an hour. And so it's just kind of one of those like, yeah, like I could work like an hourly wage and call it even, but you may, and I think depending on how good once you get a good enough server, you get the good shifts, and then you get to make serious bank.
Yeah.
Especially the bartenders. Bartenders walked out of there with a ton of money. And they're like, no, don't pay us an hourly wage. But let's go on a whole separate route. But yeah, anyway, tipping. Yeah, I don't know who to tip anymore. Am I supposed to tip the the car broke down on the side of the road, and I call roadside service, the USAA, and that guy comes. Am I supposed to tip that guy?
I don't know.
No, right? I don't know.
Does it just come back and I'm on the effing side of the road. Clearly, like I'm not in a position to like think like, oh, thank goodness I have this, extra $80 in my wallet in 2 20s, 2 10s, and 2 5s and 10 1s, right? Like
what if I only have $3? Is it insulting to give him $3 or give him
that, dude? Right here, hold on. I got a shitload of change in my side door. Let me a quarter, a penny, is 2 pence. Here's a button.
I personally, I don't even feel like I should have to tip if I'm like at Starbucks, like tipping at Starbucks. Oh, have you heard that? We could the whole podcast about this.
Yeah, run with it, man. That's a perfect one. I'm paying with my phone. How the funk am I gonna tip you?
Well, even then, like now you see that like people use those touchscreens now, so they turn around. So they turn the screen around, just sign here. Do you want to tip 15%, 20%, 25% custom tip? Well, now you're almost like, it almost puts you, it's up to you to whether or not you want to tip and say 0. But it's like, it almost puts you on the spot. So stuff that people typically didn't tip for before are now tipping for. And it's like, no, you're messing up the system. I feel like if you're a server, that's when you get tipped, right? Like the old days, you go to a restaurant.
So we're talking. Yeah. If we like kind of put it in a counter service, the idea of counter service, which then it's like, okay, what about the idea of like takeout? So, where did we go recently? Oh, we were on the road up to Connecticut this last weekend for Nicole's mom's birthday, which surprisingly, like easiest trip north and south I've done in a long time. But we went on the way up, did not go over the GW, kind of basically did the Jersey Turnpike all the way to like right before the GW, and then Waze got us off, and then you jump on the Palisades Parkway. Oh, you basically just run up the Hudson.
Cool drive.
It is so cool. Yeah. I was like, watch those houses and stuff. Some of those, holy crapola. Like, you're telling me this beautiful stone house on this gorgeous hill overlooking the Hudson, 15 minutes ride from like downtown New York. That's a like $15 million house or whatever. But so I was saying to him, I was like, but it kind of sucks. You're on this really busy road. You have no yard, right? Like, is the Hudson a decent river, decent water like source? Like, can you boat on it, fish on it, swim in it? Like,
you can dump bodies in it.
Yeah. Hey, oh.
Hey, hey. Hey, forget about it.
Anyway, we stopped at this burger joint. It was great. Like we're driving by it and it's all signs says voted best burgers, and I missed like when it was, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Nicole goes, let's stop. So spin around this neighborhood, come back in, perfect choice. Got some burgers. It was all counter service, but it's like it's set up counter service. So when he paid and it like gives you the option, I tipped him 20% because there's this, to me, the sense there is I'm paying the extra gratuity to not just the establishment, but I have to imagine or assume that the grill chef the guy putting all the stuff into the little container, you know what I mean? Like that whole system, they share it all.
Mm.
To me, that felt like on par with if I was sitting at the table and they brought me my things and blah 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 blah. Right. So this is the nebulous, there are no rules. To me, that felt like it was now in the category of as if we sat down to eat, the way it was sort of designed and shaped.
Yeah.
But there was a market attached to it.
Okay.
That you could also buy food in, but they had Chipwiches. So they had cookie ice cream sandwiches.
Oh.
So you don't know what have you ever heard Chipwich? That's like it's like a brand name or like a
okay.
Anyway, so but these were like homemade ones. So I'd gone in to go to the bathroom and I saw that. I was like, oh my God. So I come out, I'm like, hey, they got Chipwiches in there, ice cream sandwiches. And so we're like, cool. So we went in and we got them out of the freezer and we bought them at the counter. She turns the thing around. It has the exact same setup, 0%. So what's the right? Like same exact, you zoom out just a little bit, the exact same set of steps, same exact process. I walked up to a counter. I ordered some food. I went away. They called my name. I come up, I get it. I feel obligated to tip that system. I go to a little freezer. I open a door. I grab 4 ice cream sandwiches. I bring them to the counter. She rings them up, super nice, smiling. Oh, we got 30-second conversation, turns it around, feel no obligation to tip. What's the difference?
Honestly, like, other than you doing the work of like retrieving it, it's really.
But I had to retrieve.
Someone had to make it.
Right. I had totally. It's what I'm saying. Like I had to retrieve my own condiments. I had to retrieve my own silverware. I had to retrieve my own napkins.
It's a different
I had to go get.
Yeah.
I had to go get my own drink. You know what I mean? Like I had to get it out of a.
We've been conditioned to, like, if it's a restaurant, we've been conditioned now to tip. But if it's not a restaurant, there's no thought about it. It's like
right. And so that's like that's what I mean. As far as there was something innate about the two situations where they existed in different categorical domains somehow.
So now I feel like
then,
excuse me, go ahead.
I was going to say, which then warranted me making a conscious decision to tip and not tip.
So now I feel like the rule should be, if you are getting paid an hourly wage, like a legit hour, like you get paid an hourly wage as a server, but it's very small, knowing that you get to claim your tips. If you're getting paid an hourly wage, you don't need to be tipped. You're getting paid to do this job. That's how, like, I feel like technically that's the line. The reason people get paid an hourly wage, I'm paying you to do this job. Your job is to do this thing. It shouldn't matter whether or not you do a good job.
Right. You've already been compensated sufficiently for your time. So then what's sufficient compensation for your time? What's an appropriate wage for the labor that you're exerting?
So I would say your AC guy, you don't need to tip because he's probably getting paid an hourly wage.
Right.
Whatever. Yeah. However they get paid. I don't know. Your counter person. Yeah. See, I don't know. This is confusing.
Right. And then, because then that comes
at the end of the day, tip your CrossFit coaches, guys.
But so that, right. Like, to me, that's sort of a, why would you tip your barber, but not your CrossFit coach?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I don't think
is it because you see me 3, 4, 5 times a week, and so tipping would add up, but you only see your barber maybe once a month, every few months, and so it's like
right. Like what is the difference in the service?
Yeah.
That warrants the gratuity.
I think it's just some things said. I think it's just we've been conditioned to tip some things and not others. I think that's just all. I think that's all it really is. I could put it. I bet if this should be a social experiment. I should put a big old tip jar at the front of the gym, and just see who puts money into it.
Do you think maybe you'll get like little slips of paper vacuum the fucking whatever. Or,
Sorry, you're mistaking this gray bin right here for the HR jar.
Yeah.
the HR file.
I just mean, right? Like people interpret tip as in like, oh, Eric's looking for advice.
No,
You're
I
like,
think someone can be like, "Oh, your chalk bucket's empty."
yeah, you're like, I don't need to put a jar out for that. People feel fully empowered to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
what I should do. You know what you should do, Eric? You should start a yoga class. You guys should have smoothies out in the front. You know what you should do? You should do a Sunday. You know what you should.
It's
Thanks.
funny. It's
great idea. It's a great idea.
These are all things I'll definitely take into consideration. I remember
upcharge.
I will not name names, but there was a coach here at one point who said to me, like, we should totally do a yoga class on Sundays. I'm like, okay, you want to run it? Like, oh no, I would probably take it. I was like, well, who's gonna run it? They're like, I guess I could run it. I was like, are you gonna run it every Sunday? Because I'm not gonna cover a Sunday yoga class.
Are you qualified to run yoga?
Yeah.
I take yoga.
I was like, I'm not saying this to be a dick. This is like, sounds great. Who's gonna run it?
I love eating yoga. Oh, yogurt. Oh, I got confused.
Yeah. So yeah, at the end of the day, tip your CrossFit coach, and your barber, and your AC guy, and your dentist.
And once again, I go back to Steve Martin's character from My Blue Heaven. I don't believe in tipping. I believe in over tipping.
There you go. So over tip your CrossFit coach.
Just tip everybody, right? Always just constantly walk around with a wad of ones, 100 ones in your pocket, and just until they're gone, you just give everybody, and it's always just a $1. Right?
Just a $1 tip. Yeah.
Just everybody gets $1. The
Everybody
first 100 engagements in a month, you get $1. You get $1. You get $1.
So here's a question. When you throw money at a stripper, is that tipping or is that their wage? Do they get a fair hourly wage?
I don't know. It's good.
I have a friend that was a stripper. I should ask her. Do tippers get paid hourly wages?
Yeah.
Man, she told me too. I thought she told me one night too. She's like, "Oh, she made $2,000 the night before."
Was this while she was dancing or in the champagne room afterwards when you guys were hanging out?
She swore it was just for dancing. And one of my friends who frequented a strip club, he goes, "You're not making $2,000 a night, not going to the back room." I was like, all right. But he's like, I was like, $2,000 a night? I was like, I should see if they're hiring. But apparently I'm not what they're looking for.
Hey man, everybody's yuck is somebody's yum.
I say I could easily be that lunchtime crowd. I have
Barry,
no problem.
I mean, Barry was a big hit for that Chippendale tryout. Everybody's working for the weekend.
Oh man, that'd be fun. That'd be a fun gig. My brother dressed up as him one year for Halloween, by the way.
One of the greatest skits of all time.
Yeah, which is funny talking to some people said too that skit, as great as it was and like as much fun as Farley had with it, that was also one of those like things that like he was so super insecure about. So it was one of those two. It did damage to Chris Farley just as much as it gave him like success, because he was so like, he embraced it. Like his end game was, I just want to make people laugh. And if people are it's the whole, if I get them to laugh, if I'm laughing, what is it? Like, if I'm laughing with them, they're not laughing at me. And so by making fun,
he was the clown laughing on the outside, but crying on the inside.
Yeah. And so it's a great skit, but a lot of people were like, but that same thing, like that put every insecurity that Chris Farley ever had out for the world to see. And everybody loved it because they're just like, it's Chris Farley being Chris Farley. But at the same time too, it was like, yeah, that was him basically masking everything that he was insecure about. And just, if you laugh first, they're not laughing at you. Mm-hmm. And that's he would tell you, he seems like, not to go down, but have you ever there's a documentary what is it called? I forget what it's called, but it's a Chris Farley documentary where all of his buddies and stuff are on it. It's really cool to hear, like, it's sad, but also at the same time too, just like he seemed like he's that guy that like no one ever had a bad thing to say about him ever. You know what I mean? Like he was universally loved by everyone, and it's so sad because at the same time too, he was like hurting horribly. Oh, but good old Farley. And they said he always his idol was
John Belushi.
John Belushi.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, like if he was going to go out, he was going to go out like John Belushi, which he kind of did. So anyway, but not to bring it down, Chris Farley's hysterical. Hey, how are you?
Tommy Boy, one of the best movies of all time.
There was, and then, what was it? There was a Weekend Update once where I think it was like David Spade and Terry Hatcher were like doing correspondence on movies, but David Spade was dressed as Terry Hatcher and Terry Hatcher was dressed as David Spade. Yeah. And then it was something like they were talking about Black Sheep because like Black Sheep had just come out, and like so Terry Hatcher's she's doing the review on it as David Spade. And she's doing like, hey, and if you haven't seen it yet, go check out Black Sheep. Maybe you saw it the first time when it was called Tommy Boy. So good. Anyway, how are you?
I'm great.
Hear about that Ben Bergeron fella?
Did I hear about him? What happened?
Yeah. Oh, he just stepped down as like the coach. Your Morning Chalk Up made me think of it because Morning Chalk Up always gets this like they know before everyone else.
Oh, I like this shirt just because it's a comfortable shirt. But I deleted this app like 6 months ago. These guys, I don't know what happened. I don't know if LaFranco left. Did he sell it? Like, did he get fired? When Lauren Khalil left, like, I can't navigate this platform as a medium to provide anything like useful as far as because when I left social media, I was like, oh, well, I'll just keep the Morning Chalk Up app, or I'll go to their website, whatever. It was like when the Open was starting, and then when quarterfinals and the online quarterfinals, and then the semis were happening and stuff. I was like, I'd go on to it, and they'd have like an article, so I'd click on the article, and then it would just be blank. And then I'd like go to their, watch guide or something. And I was like, oh, cool. Good on them to like try and keep themselves as sort of the belly button for all things kind of CrossFit news. Absolutely horrible. So then I was like, oh, well, maybe CrossFit has taken that on. So I went to that same exact thing. Nothing, like no coherent sort of like navigational. This feels exactly like what we were talking with Juliana last week. Like they as an industry or those entities as companies within this industry, I feel like could be really well served by hiring a person like a Juliana to look at their structure or their whatever and be like, you're an effing mess. You have no intersection of capabilities. There's no like blend. There's no the customer experience. And again, I'm biased. This is an N=1. My customer experience with this company or product as like a news product, absolutely horrible. So I deleted it. And I was like, because it was just an extra button on the phone. And I'm like, you're gone. But then CrossFit, the same thing. Like even this coverage of the semifinals, which we talked about before.
Yeah, that's right.
It was a conscious decision not to cover certain aspects of the semifinals. And I don't understand the rationale behind it. But I'm not I don't know. I'm giving sort of runway to see what is there a master plan? What is that master plan? Where are the efforts? Where is the majority of energy being placed or expended? So thus the end at which they are aiming, they reach it right? So or is that what their efforts are? But if it's customer experience, they ain't hitting it. Like it's pretty horrible across the board. And I feel as if this company sort of manifested that, where it's just, and maybe it's an ecosystem thing. Maybe it's it, right? There's just not enough meat on that bone for an entity like this to exist as a pay for entity. But anyway,
Like, do you feel like Morning Chalk Up was just they were? Do you feel like Morning Chalk Up? It got to the point where they're throwing stuff out there for the sake of throwing stuff out there and just hoping people click on it.
Yeah, like, there was no worth, and I recently I listened to Glassman on Savan's podcast, and he was talking about the genesis of the journal, the CrossFit Journal, and it was just it was a newsletter. It was a newsletter for the people that had begged him to start a website because they wanted the workouts while they were traveling, and but like it's something that at the scale where it started, it served its purpose. It wasn't initially designed to be able to be scaled up. And so that to me feels like a worthwhile sort of thing to explore is something like Morning Chalk Up, something like, you know, the professional coach newsletter thing that they send out on email CrossFit sends out every now and then. Who's the audience? What's its purpose? And if that audience grows 10x, 100x, 1000x, is this product viable when scaled to those different levels? Is it worth it to them to consider that? Do they have the infrastructure to support that type of explosion of scale? Or is it inherently designed to stay at the scale at which it is initially created? And in that limitation, it won't ever scale. And if the population or the audience does grow beyond its ability, the vacuum of the market will draw another product to fill that vacuum, right? Like, and to me, that was Glassman. That's always been Glassman's claim. He's like, I didn't want to start a business, right? I did not care to start a global business.
Yeah.
It did. There it goes. He's like, I did not want to create a professional sport. Not my interest. But, okay, fine. I'm the writer of the check. I'll write that check, right? Like all these things, those were never his desires. And so in a sense, CrossFit as a global business now exists as an entity outside of the scope of what he ever desired to create. So the fact that he walked away, like, I think Savan asked him, like, would you start something else? He's like, nah, I'm good. Like I did that. I did what I wanted to do with that, whatever. So anyway, that got us down a rabbit hole. That's my own 2 cents on it. So I'm interested though, because it feels gossipy, but at the same token, I'm just interested.
Which is the intent is like, did you hear about Ben? All it was is he announced yesterday that he's stepping down as like the coach for CompTrain. So he's been the guy that's been training the athletes and taking them to the games and being their head coach of the games. He is stepping back from that position. He named Cole Sager basically as his heir apparent, I guess, as a replacement. So Cole Sager is basically going to be the coach of CompTrain athletes. Ben is taking a step back and putting more focus into the actual like CompTrain community through the app and the programming and through that. So not the games athletes themselves, but the CompTrain community. Ben's taking a step back, and that's going to be his focus.
So he's going to fill the role that Harry Pally used to have.
That's what it sounds like. So Cole is taking Ben's place. Ben is taking Harry's place. Oh, and at the same time, they posted something. CompTrain posted something yesterday that they're basically like, hey, sign up to get, we're making some changes and we're enhancing our CompTrain app experience. Sign up to get the first month for free as like a beta test. And so it sounds like, Ben's basically Harry. Cole is going to be Ben.
Yeah.
And
I mean, there's something that as a product, like they from the very get-go, and again, this isn't mine. I think they were talking about this on Savan podcast. CompTrain, Outlaw, Invictus. Those were kind of the three. They in 2011, 2012 timeframe, maybe 13. That's it. If you wanted to do somebody else's programming outside of your own, that met the volume and intensity requirements to stay relevant in the competitive space, those three were kind of the that was it. And it was online, right? It was remote.
Yeah.
And I mean, CompTrain, God, it was effective. I mean, it really does deliver on what, or at least it used to. I stopped following it. What Andy and I found was it became repetitive. There, after I think Katrin's second win, there was a sense that from my user experience, there was a sense that they were going away from what had worked for them in the past in order to insert like a sense of novelty without any sort of I don't know, proven efficacy of the redirection from programming design, from volume incorporation, right? They basically went into this mode because at that point other programming was starting to come onto the scene.
Right.
And so I think for them,
they wanted to do something to stick out.
Yeah, to stay relevant, they incorporated these like a new strength cycle and then phases and like all this other stuff. And it quickly, and they didn't have the infrastructure to support that type of diversification. So as the user experience, where I'm used to the seamless, clean, I go to CompTrain, it tells me what to do. It was usually 3 parts. It would take an hour and a half to 2 hours. Like I knew what I was going to get. And it wasn't monotonous,
right?
But the consistency of the routine allowed for a shitload of volume to fit into it. It felt very much sort of like the schedule at the Naval Academy, where the rigor with which your schedule is laid out allows for you to do so much.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same token, within doing so much, you kind of don't ever get too deep into anything. But it's okay because you get a lot of shit done.
Yeah.
Which in like a military context, like excellent. If you're being judged on the volume of work you're able to do, it's a beautiful structure to allow for somebody to do a lot. And so, hey, well done. We're all high five. We get a lot of shit done. They started to like insert other things, and then it was like, well, wait a second. Is my focus this strength training thing, but then this volume, and then I've got this skill, and and so I never felt like they recovered organizationally and structurally to be able to understand. And then they started parsing out, okay, you have this level of competitor, you have this level of competitor, you have this level of competitor. They were kind of one of the first to do that, but it was so confusing. So do I follow the open track? Do I follow the regional track? Do I follow the games track? And they had like an explanation of what you're supposed to do. But I don't know if you know this about CrossFit athletes, and especially those who like to delude themselves into being relevant and slightly competitive. If you tell me there's 3 tracks and you tell me the categories with which I should use to determine which track I should be in, I will read it and I will always assume that I should be in the highest track because that's where I want to be, regardless of the need to do an honest assessment of where I actually am.
Yeah.
And no matter how many times a coach tells me that if I actually degrade myself and perform at the level below where I am, I will actually get better rather than do really badly at the level above where I think I am, which is already 2 levels above where I actually
Could
am.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if, I mean, no CrossFit athlete actually does that. We are all extremely good at honestly assessing our capability and performing and training at or below that level so as to allow ourselves to improve or consistently stay where we are. And,
Like my max
force-
snatch is 155, so I'm totally doing Isabel RX. 100%.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Like there's no reason. 155 is more than 135. Easy.
And I can only overhead squat 105 out of a rack. So definitely going to do Isabel and at 135 squat snatches.
100%.
Yeah.
So yes, nailed it.
So anyway, I feel like CompTrain never recovered from that sort of shakeup. And at the same time, you had things like, and then the CrossFit world exploded, and everyone got fired, and everyone quit, and everyone's a racist, and yeah. So the Froning's programming, Mayhem came. You got Frazier's, you got Josh Bridges, you got everybody and their brother and sister, and then you got things like Street Parking, where these entities came online with and NC Fit, who does, and Invictus actually did a good job of pivoting into sort of very robust, very clean interfaces, extremely enjoyable user experience, and a myriad of things that I can pick from, where I can both follow a set program but have the fluidity to kind of cherry pick. So I scratched the need to cherry pick, while at the same time they've sneakily figured out that even as I'm cherry picking, I'm getting the diversity and the variance, which allows me to continue to improve and see that improvement, and thus feel as if, oh, this shit's really working. Yeah. So it's like CompTrain have never, I don't know if it's just an infrastructure thing, if it was Ben just lost traction on it, if they lost focus or what, but from like a commercial space, and I don't know their numbers, right? Like, did they go from 15,000 users to 5,000 users? Have they always stayed at the same amount? Like what's that look like? How do you measure their growth? What's the health of their business structure? I've no insight into that. I simply know from my own personal experience and sort of a circle of 5 or 10 people that sort of all were, we were CompTrain acolytes, and then we just all left. Yeah. Anyway.
Do you think Ben's, I guess his presence as being the coach of podium winners at the games had anything to do with the drop off in CompTrain? Because now, Katrin wins 2 years in a row. Like, I think people still sleep on, like, winning the games 2 years in a row is a feat.
Yeah.
And the games were, you could say the games were a little bit, they've evolved even since then.
It's a hell of a field when she won.
Yeah.
But what she wasn't winning at the ranch, in 07 or 08 or right. Like she beat Annie. She beat Annie. She beat Tia. Yeah. Right. Like she beat really good competitors, and she did it in a very CrossFit way where she was good in something. She had some weak, right? Like, no, I think that's strength. And I'm sure there are better nerds than me that could run that strength of field. But this when she won, it was not like it was sort of the it'd be like claiming that the Bulls, when they were winning all of those NBA championships, well they were winning, but the NBA just wasn't as good of, they didn't have as good of teams. Bullshit, right? The relative, and again, way outside my expertise. This is all just opinion. But the strength of the league was pretty amazing at that time.
You still have the arguably the best players in the world in this league.
Right. Like and they found ways to win even when winning was really, really hard. Katrin, winning twice in a row, found ways to win when she had no business on paper probably winning some of either of those seasons, but she did. And so was that Ben's coaching? Was it the programming? Was it her as an athlete? I have no idea. Who cares? She's got the effing medal around her neck. Like the proof's in the pudding. So marquee value of that and having Fraser on his team and kind of right. Like definitely like, I have no idea. This is a total swag guess. 20%, 15% market increase of Joe Schmo kind of joining the thing. Sure. I think though, from a revenue standpoint, them as marquee athletes doesn't probably bump the bottom line up or down much. Where I think as a company or as a product that makes a difference is the consistency of the user experience and the ease with which that customer can convince themselves that staying with that product is a valid return on their investment. What I mean by that is the monthly charge, or how much does it cost a year, or right, like so that, like, the Masters, they're your fucking golden gooses. Right. Like and that CompTrain Masters interface for the longest time was absolutely awesome. Like, that is who floated their revenue.
What changed with the interface?
They integrated it. When they tried to go to their own app, and they walked away from SugarWatt, I think, when CompTrain disconnect. I forget what it was. I
remember how clean it was, like on the website. Like, I remember
how clean it was. It was a nightmare. And Harry was like on Facebook all day, nonstop. Stick with us, guys. It'll be okay. And then it was okay for a while. And then it was glitchy. And then people lost all their records. Like, all the data was gone. Like, it went somewhere, but nobody could figure out where it went. And so, and I'll tell you, like, it's funny, having migrated over to Mayhem now for almost a year, a lot of the names that were on CompTrain are on Mayhem. Yeah. A lot of the same guys that, like, I saw when we were on CompTrain, there they all are on Mayhem. Yeah. And so
I totally forgot that Harry Pally went to HWPO as well. That jumped too, which I'm curious as to how many people jumped over there as well.
So the experience on Mayhem, and with the Mayhem Masters and the Mayhem Compete and the Mayhem 60, Mayhem 60, like, all feels very much like the way CompTrain was at the beginning, where it is very clean. It makes sense. There is a consistency in sort of the structure, but yet within that consistency, there's a boatload of variance. I can pick to do sandbags some days. I can pick to do dumbbells some days. Like, I get to scratch the itch of cherry picking as I need to, without ever really degrading the overall sense of it. And if I stick with it, like, real rigorously for 3 to 6 weeks in a row, I see immediate improvement. If I kind of do my own thing, I kind of am like, I'm a mess. And I'm like, oh, right, because I'm all right. So it is very much effective in casting a super wide net for, again, formerly competitive. I was never really competitive. Still think you're competitive. Can convince yourself you're competitive when you're not really competitive, but you get to scratch all those itches.
Yeah.
And it's at a price point. I think it's maybe like $40 a month, but you can pay for the whole year. So it's a sunk cost of, like, the beginning of the year, $300, bam, never have to think about it again. And it's on SugarWatt. Yeah. Like, they've used a platform that makes it super easy. I mean, you use them as the affiliate programming. What's your experience with it?
I think it's from on SugarWatt, or just in general.
Just in general, right? Like, that's so, in a sense, the way I think that's all part of it, right? So the ease with which you have to take this product, digest it, and then turn it around as your own. The platform ease, the ease of putting it out to customers, the price point, so the return on that investment, but then also just like methodologically as a professional, right? Is it doing what you would want programming to do
So
for your clientele?
yeah, so from like for clientele, so I would say from being able to deliver it, like using SugarWOD, really smooth for giving you a bunch of different options from like whether it's just the affiliate programming or what we use for the Off the Creek or they even have the weightlifting track or like they have an endurance track, like all these different resources that even some of those like, no, we don't do an endurance class, but someone comes in one day and they're like, hey, like I just want to move, but I'm not really sure I want to do this workout. Hey, hop on the bike and do these rounds, that's written here. As a resource for that. Awesome. I even like the daily mobility that they tied in with Kelly Starrett that like, hey, everyone can find 10 minutes and now you can follow along, which I think would make it makes it easier for people from an affiliate owner trying to develop coaches. I find I don't love it because it is a jam-packed hour. The difference between that and CAP is I really like it tells you like, here's the stimulus, here's how things might break down, here's different scales and this sort of thing. But as a resource for skill development, as a resource for kind of giving you something to, the one thing I love about CAP is, okay, there's front squats in the workout, and CAP programming will give you, here's faults that you might see in the front squat, here are cues to see as the front squat. As a coach, you should know those, but also like as a developing coach, especially as you get, newer coaches, there's already so much going on. If I can give them one more thing to make it easier for them to do the best that they can in a class, then that's important.
So let me ask you this. Did Mayhem Programming make a claim that their affiliate programming would help you develop coaches?
Not that I know of.
So in a sense, that's not, and I'm not saying that as like I totally appreciate that, right? That is 100% valid. But I agree with your assessment. Do you think that they would receive that feedback and be like, totally hear what you're saying, don't care, not what we are trying to do?
And they might not, and that's right, fine. Yeah.
CAP has explicitly said that they will get your clientele fitter. They will provide you a product that is.
Are you okay? Mary's creeping in behind me.
Yeah, I saw. Okay. Hello there.
We just lost all our viewers. We're down to 0.
Ooh, ouch. But that they're three prongs: fitter athletes, ease for the affiliate owner, coach development.
Yeah.
Right. So in that sense, it makes sense that their programming would do exactly what you just said.
CAPS would.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that asks the question. It's free as an affiliate owner. Why aren't you switching back over to it?
Free. It's not on SugarWOD. But it's only $20 on SugarWOD. So if you're an affiliate, you can now. I forget what it was. Wasn't it like $135 on SugarWOD originally, something like that?
Yeah. It was under $150. It was ridiculous. Yeah. It's ridiculously cheap per month.
So now it's free. Like you can get the programming free as an affiliate through the affiliate portal. If you're an affiliate, you can get it for $20 on SugarWOD.
Okay.
And so am I seriously like contemplating like a full switch to it? Probably. I only because the most important thing to me is making sure my coaches are able to give the best possible class that they can give. And if they're just shuffling people from one thing to the other, then this is where we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. A lot of times people don't leave a CrossFit gym because the workouts are too hard, right? Or they don't leave because, and the schedules and stuff happen, whatever, sure. Okay. But it's when people become complacent and they feel like, I'm not getting better, I'm not seeing improvement, I'm just kind of going through the motions, and I'm paying $200 a month to go through the motions, not really my jam. But if people, even if it's really difficult and we spend 10 minutes on the toes to bar, and that's hard and that's uncomfortable and it's not the sexiest thing, but you had someone every step of the way working with you, making sure that you were getting that. I feel like Mayhem Programming, unless you go in there and you really prep out your class plan, which like I know I can do. I know my coaches are getting better at it because that's stuff that I have them work on. But it's also like there's so much to work on at a time. It just that's most important to me is that coaches are getting every resource that they can to make sure that they are giving the best class that they can, meaning every athlete's getting attention, every athlete's getting worked on, every athlete walks out of improving just a little bit, not just from like a fitness standpoint, not just, hey, they did the workout and got the stimulus, but they got a little bit better at a toes to bar. Or they're clean. Oh, something clicked and they're clean that day, and the pull feels a lot smoother in the receiving position. And so I feel
let me ask you this question. If you had only 3 sort of virtues that you could instill across clients, coaches, family members of people through deliberate habituation of behavior, what would those do you have like 3 values that somehow you could cultivate for your population, and what would they be?
Probably faith, fitness, family. Wait, hold on, wrong one. Wrong one. Yeah, curiosity, be curious, consistent, and courageous. Am I backwards? Curious, consistent, courageous. There it is, right there. It's on the wall.
Damn it! Well, we can never remember the 10 general physical skills either.
Isn't consistency one of them?
But right. But so it seems to me that you're kind of answering your own question, that though fun and effective as for an individual athlete working out at home 99.9% of the time, Mayhem is easily return on my investment, right? It's awesome. But as an affiliate owner, it seems as if, though also attractive and right, like super liked it, whatever, it fails in 2 of the 3 things that you can't actually provide a consistent product between all 4 of the classes you're offering on a daily basis, because of the nature of the volume with which the programming is asking those coaches to deliver to the clientele. So consistency is out the window.
Yeah.
There isn't as much room for curiosity, because at no point is anyone really asking themselves like, oh, we're just doing front squats today? I don't understand. Like, how can I get fitter just doing heavy front squats today? Right. And it's like, that's a great question. Do you understand how you actually get fitter? Right now, all of a sudden, the programming is driving the coach, the client, and the entire community to actually engage with what it is they're doing for an hour at Fairwinds CrossFit.
Right.
Because the fact is, if you just want to come and show up and turn off and do a fucking shitload of volume, easy. I can send you to 1,000 places to do that. You actually don't even have to come here to do that. There is, and you will check the block on all of the, health maintenance, disease prevention, current contemporary literature of like sweat for 45 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week. We can 100% accomplish that. That is not all that we are doing. You are doing at a CrossFit affiliate.
Yeah.
Right. So by driving somebody to like, well, wait a second, I just really want to get on the bike and ride for 45 minutes. Be like, awesome. You're not doing that here. Right. Like, or right. Unless they're like I can't
Right.
front squats. Right. Sure. Of course.
Yeah, right.
But if that's all they ever want to do, or they always
Yeah.
skip strength day, but without having a day where legitimately the only thing somebody sees on Sugar Rod is 5x1 deadlift.
Yeah.
Right. And they're like, what the hell? But the coach has this 60-minute, and it's not jam-packed in the sense of like, okay, now we're going to deadlift. Now we're going to do this. Now we're going to do this. And now we're going to finish with this 10-minute burner at the end. Right. Like, no. It is just deadlifting. And we've talked about this 1,000 times. Like, when they do that and they touch the third rail of efficacy on that, that's when you have somebody who's like, holy shit, this stuff is amazing. Does anybody else know about this? Be like, yeah, they do. They've known about it since 2001. Like,
yeah. It's been there.
It's why it's on the wall.
Yeah. It's since 2017.
Yeah. Right. So it's that to me answers, like, you answered your own question of, so I guess, so when are you switching to cap?
So I'm probably like, I'm already been looking at it, and like, I mean, like, really, it's like
tomorrow.
Yeah. And we've said this before. Jack, what's the best programming an athlete can do?
The one they will do.
Yeah, the one they show up to, the one they do, the one they do consistently,
the one they do consistently.
Like, now, and I'm happy. I know people liked having. I will say, people liked having. They liked. Hey, we're on this 9-week strength cycle, so 2, maybe 3 times a week, you'll see a pre-WOD lift in there and there. And I know people like that, and I'm happy to meet people where they're at. And so, like, it's
just lie to them. People don't care. People don't care about the truth, Eric. They just want to feel like you're telling them what they want to hear. So, like, do the CAP pro. And here it is. Spoiler alert, folks. Eric's going to switch over to CAP programming. When he switches over to CAP programming, CAP does not have cycles, right? Like, they have
like a monthly focus,
right? Their cycle. So just lie to them and just say, hey, we're going to be on a micro 4-week cycle of tendon strength building. And the way this is going to happen is we're going to pepper in some blah, 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 right? And you write it in your newsletter, and maybe we do an episode on this, and it's like, oh, cool, right? And it's like, oh yeah, that totally works. Like, it's an overload progression that's going to build their lactate threshold in their synovial fluid. Like, none of that makes any sense. But then
we're gonna drive deep into the perineum, and then once we get through,
yeah, right? Like, because you said it, but nobody actually gives a shit.
Yeah.
Do they feel better when they wake up?
Yeah.
Are they able to do the things they want to do? When they look at themselves naked in the mirror, are they more comfortable with the way that they look? And do they like the people that they're doing it with? Here's my $200, right? Like, that's it. So tell them whatever they need to hear to get them in the fucking door.
And do they feel like that when they were in class, they were given the attention that they need to be a little bit better? Like, that's,
you got it.
I mean, it's that. Did
somebody give a shit about them and their life? And the answer is like, yes. Like, you fucking crush that with that. So yeah.
That's more than the name on the program. The most important thing to me is that people get all those things that you just said.
Yeah.
All those things you just said. And because I can easily throw stuff up and have a coach go and just manage the herd and move from one thing to the other.
Move on to the next. Kids, get in line. They'll hold hands. They're like a teacher on a field trip, right? Yeah. Like, now we're going here. Now we're going here. Now we're going here. Awesome. You were great. You were great. You were great. You were great. See you tomorrow. Be like, well, wait a second. What did we just do? Like, there's no actual coaching going on. And that, I mean, God, how many times does Denise Thomas have to tell us that? Right? Like, just do one thing and do it like really well. Do it better than anybody else.
I was on a call with her last night.
Really?
Lovely. Yeah. Coaching.
Ooh.
Yeah. Coaching
Oh,
development.
right. Because she came
Yeah.
over to the boys.
And I tell you, Pat Barber's over there too.
Holy crap! Really?
Yeah.
With Affiliate U?
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit!
I'm going to not this weekend, next weekend. I'm going to be out in Denver. They're doing like a mastermind, Affiliate U mastermind conference, and there's like, hey, if you're in Affiliate U, it's free. You just got to get there. And so we're going off topic here, but a couple when they first sent it out, I sent it to Meg. I was like, man, this would be awesome. But I sent it as like man, this would be really cool. Too bad we're just at a phase in our life where like
You can't fly to fucking Denver for a weekend,
right?
No, totally, I get
And
it.
so Meg says to me, she goes, well, you should go.
She's a good lady.
And I was like, I really was like, is this a test? She's no, you should go. Like, this is like, you've put a lot, you've invested a lot in Affiliate U. And there was something else recently that I had to that they did that I had to pass on. That was at Virginia Beach, which I was really excited to go to Rife and see Fern. And, but I had to pass on. She's like, no, this is cool. Like the event itself, like events like that cost thousands of dollars or whatever. They usually end up, hundreds of dollars, whatever it is. Like, so plus I have Sarah and Greg live out there. So they're in Colorado Springs. So he said it's about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the time of day. But like, come stay with us. You can borrow a car.
That's all. That's it, right? Like that's totally the smartest way. So basically, it is the cost of a plane ticket and some food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Meg's like, go, and she's like, I'm terrified of being with the kids all weekend by myself for three Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting home till late, like Sunday, so it's really 3 nights. But she's like, I'll figure it out. So she's like, she's gonna lay on like the guilt a little bit leading up to it, but just know like I'm still happy that you're going and I'm glad that you get to do this. But also just remember that I am taking care of the 3 kids while you're away. Remember that when you get back. So, I was like, by the way, leading up, would you like to get a pedicure and a manicure? Can I give you a shoulder rub tonight?
It'll be interesting for you to see. I'd be interested for you to see, right? To kind of to write down some expectations and like what you think you're going to get out of this. And then sort of like, in order for you to feel that it was successful and worthwhile, you will like, I want to get ... And it's always 3s. It's the 3s. Because I guarantee you there will be, I don't guarantee you this, but I would expect that there will be a time where it is an open forum sort of Q&A.
Yeah.
And right. So if list 1 has been met, then it's like, wow, they did a great job. If list 2, the things you want there are things you really need to know about, have not. Now you have your 3 questions or 4, or you have at least a question to ask at Q&A. Or if that question gets asked at Q&A, check. Now you have your next question. You have your next question, right? Or you have an opportunity where you guys are out to dinner and you'd be like, you guys didn't talk about it, but I have to imagine you think about this. I'm curious what you think about fill in the blank, right? So you give yourself those things. And then after it's over, you also have your after action report template to write for yourself and then to provide to them, right? Yeah. So this is be in a position to always be of use. You now are of use to them as a clientele. They're putting this thing on probably to make some money, but they're putting it on to be of use to their community. So as a community, what is one of the things that we always used to like get so frustrated about with the Fairwinds community? And I'll just a rhetorical question, is the absence of usable or constructive feedback. Yeah. It was either you should or no, everything's great. And then just crickets. Yeah. And so it was like, what the fuck? Like if there's something you want or need, ask for that, but not in a way of, hey, you know what you should do? You guys should do yoga. Be like, okay, but why? Like, what is it that yoga is going to offer you that you can't get at a yoga studio where there are experts who are going to provide it?
There's about 5 and about half-mile
Right.
radius.
or like, right. So it's like feedback that is actually vested in, you said you put this thing on for me. I came with this expectation. I got this, this, and this. What I didn't get was this, this, and this. And I can imagine where you would fit it in, or where it feels like it would be most relevant would be here, here, and here. Right. So that's an after action report. That's sort of the template of, oh, okay, great. And you don't even have to tell them, you guys did great here. You guys are here. It's the old, like, if we were we're not in the business of effing, like, we're not in the business of looking at each other's dicks. If we were, we wouldn't be in this business. Right. Like, so I'm not just going to stand here and tell you all the things you did well.
Yeah.
I'll maybe, sandwich it with, but just assume you did well, because I'm here and I'm still talking to you. What is falling short, or where it could be better, or where, as the end user experience, these are the things I expected. These are the things I got. These are the things I didn't get. And here's my suggestion of the toilet paper for this shit sandwich to maybe make it a little less effective. But it's always an N=1. And that's right. To me, looking at what they're providing, that's, as the customer, the end user, the service that you could provide them after the fact.
Cool.
Anyway,
that's good, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's awesome, because that's good, because I'm going in, like, I don't know what to, they given an outline and like events and stuff like that. And so I don't know what to expect, but I think it's good to go in with some sort of expectation.
In this case, yes, right?
Yeah.
Like, in some situations, like, dropping all expectations can make things a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah.
But this is not that. Like, you're going for a very specific purpose.
Even though like they're putting on the event for free and I have a place to stay, a to and from flight to Denver ain't nothing.
And the emotional cost, right?
Yeah.
The after cost, like, there are 100% real costs that you are expending.
Being home with the kids for 3 nights by yourself is a cost. Like, it's
so make it of service for yourself as well. Of like, oh, okay. And FYI, this is exactly like you have 5 other coaches, 6 coaches at this point on staff. Like, have you crafted for them a template for after action feedback of programming week by week, right? So, like, I will need, from you on Sundays, an email with, like, what did you expect from this week's programming? Did it meet your expectations? And if it didn't, and maybe it's in a very specific category of, like, for your individual development, you could just do it. You don't even have to invent this. 6 categories, right? Like, did this week's programming allow for you to improve across the 6 categories? If not, why not? Was it you? Was it me? Was it the programming? Was it the clientele? Was it, right? Like, and it's always top 3, bottom 3, right? I'm not inventing this. Like, this is basic after action template structure, but this is how things like safety manuals get written. This is how you reduce risk and casualty, like, in combative environments. Is you are this that doctors do. I think they do this. I don't know if the medical field does this, but, like, this is how industry, where there is no way that they should be able to have casualty rates as low as they do, right? Working with bombs. People should have way less fingers, and there should be a lot more bodies on the floor after it's over, but there isn't. Why? Because the deliberateness with, okay, this is what we expect going into the situation. This is the execution of it. Afterwards, this is what did and did not happen based on my activities out of my control, and then just my own thoughts on, like, it could have been a little more efficient here. But you're constantly assessing with an eye towards, how can we be more efficient while maintaining safety and making it scalable up and down based on our conjecture of what the environment's going to require.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's cool.
that's really fun, man. I'm excited for you. Clearly.
Yeah. I'm so excited because I wanted to go to Colorado for so long, and it's like this is even better.
Oh, it's so funny. Hey, it's funny. The boys and I are planning a trip in August out there as well. My buddy Brett lives just north of Denver and in Longmont, I think that's the town. But yeah, we're gonna go do like a fishing, camping, bouldering, rock climbing trip.
Is there rock climbing out there?
I hope so.
Yeah.
We're in the Rockies.
I thought that was a desert.
That John Denver's full of crap.
What was that from?
Oh, come on. Here, I've got an extra pair of gloves. My hands are starting to sweat. You had this extra pair of gloves.
You just mentioned earlier too, Dumb and Dumber. Oh, so good.
Our pets' heads are falling off.
Heads are falling off.
Pretty bird. Pretty bird.
So good. Oh man. All right, cool. Well, that's good. That was good. Let's land this plane. Oh, do I still have my? Hold on. Do I still have my? I forgot about this week.
Waiting.
Hold on. Hold on. I thought I saved it last week. Damn it. No. It's not bad, actually.
Thanks.
You give me one more second. Let me see if I still. Is this it? There it is. All right, let's land this thing.
I didn't notice last time that it said it's Ryanair.
Oh, I didn't notice that either. That's not. I mean, that was totally intentional.
That's pretty cool. That's very cool.
Awesome.
Cool.
Cool. Well, I'll go. My this week. I was just say, so today is Megan's grandfather's, aka Grampy, his 83rd birthday today. It's also Flag Day. If you didn't know that. But so I'm just put it out there. My gratitude is that I love having. It's been great having him right up the street from us, because the kids love to like ride their bikes up and go see Grampy. Ever calls him Grumpy, just because he calls him. He goes, "Hey, Grumpy."
He's the former Air Force guy, right? Who on Veterans Day goes and does all the restaurants.
Yep, just gets all his discounts, gets his food to go on Veterans Day, and then
I still want to do that. I still want to do that on one of those days. I'm like, yeah,
shameless.
He's my idol with that. Yeah.
He was the first graduating class at Air Force Academy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, so 83, and then having him right up there with the kids. Now he always has a piece of chocolate for the kids. When we first moved there, the kids would come home with like a bag of candy, and I called him one day. I was like, "Hey, could you limit the candy intake on the kids?" And of course, then he starts telling everyone that he got in trouble with me for giving the kids candy. I was like, "Just give him like a piece." But then he has been a chain smoker for I think 82 of his 83 years, and everything in his house smells like smoke, and he was giving out candy at some point. So I was like, dude, we're going to get you some new candy, because I'm pretty sure this candy is old as the house. And
it's covered in nicotine.
Yeah. So, but it's just been great having him up there, and I love that the kids get to have a relationship with him this consistent too, which is really cool.
That is very cool.
At this stage. So happy birthday, Grumpy.
That's awesome. I don't know. I didn't really think about it, and for some reason I'm struggling. I'd say I'm in the summer session at St. John's, and it's been interesting. I have 3 new tutors. So last semester, 3 classes, but had 2 tutors. What's that? Why?
This is your tutors.
Oh, got it.
I'm a child.
I wasn't picking up on that. That's a fart joke. A little slow. But infinitely different. These 3 tutors are like on the complete other end of the spectrum of style than the 2 that I had the first semester, the spring semester, who in themselves were different from each other, but like I would say like in the same species of a style. Whereas now, I mean, it is like, and again, these 3 are all different. 1 is online, 2 are in person. Holy crap. Like way more talkative and involved, and like a little One is like super heavy handed in kind of like jumping back in, interrupting students, and oh, sorry, I interrupted you, right? Like, so in a sense, much more like me. But and yet still in line with my sort of assessment or take of kind of the whole St. John's methodology. And so I am fascinated and so grateful for this ever expanding appreciation for how this methodology can fit so many different styles. And it, I mean, of course, it immediately makes me think of CrossFit as a methodology,
Right.
that right, like
leave that back.
that it is that that it, even in your saying, like, the programming doesn't really matter. Why? Like, what is it that about quote unquote capital C, capital F makes it so robust to fit whatever you want to fit into it, as long as you stay in line with kind of the CrossFit methodology. So then what is that methodology? Improve, constantly varied functional fitness done at high intensity, 3 to 5 times a week. Do the major lifts, blah, 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 like eat the nuts and, right? Like that. Oh, okay. Well, what specific should I do? Doesn't fucking matter. Right? Like, do bench buys and tries, but fit it in this structure, this methodology. That I feel like I am seeing, and right, it's only my second semester, but it's like enough runtime that I'm getting a very similar feeling of like, holy shit, like this is so effective because it's so effing simple. Read a text with a group of people, come in with a guiding question, and when all else fails, always go back to the text. Always stay with the primary text and eschew secondary, tertiary, outside sources. Sure, things are going to come in, but when you see them, push them away. Go back to the text. Go back to a question. Always come back to the question. Always come back to the text. And respect other people's opinions and rooted in the text. And there is no need for consensus. I never actually need, and actually in a sense don't ever want to agree with you. But if I can see what you're saying and we can agree that it comes from the text, I don't actually ever need to agree with you,
right?
Because it's not about me and it's not about you. It's not even really about the text. It's about this like dialectic back and forth, this conversation back and forth. And it's absolutely eye-opening. I'm so mad at myself that I wasted my master's program in my 20s, in the sense of like, I did it solely for the sake of doing it and getting the paper. I had a ton of fun. I'm not really mad at myself. I loved it. Right. Like, it was an amazing year. So much. It was so worth it.
Yeah.
But like, God, so many like things we read and opportunities, and I'm like, I don't even remember what courses I took. Like, I don't know.
Right. But maybe that's good though. You appreciate it more now, knowing what you know, being through life. You may not have appreciated it as much then. So
yeah. So anyway, that's my very nebulous sort of woo-woo gratitude. But yeah, it does. It's that sense of, I think maybe there's something there that, the efficacy of a methodology is its ability to withstand, weather the inevitable variety of the people and the things that will be used to execute the methodology, right? Like, that seems to me to be something of worth that you could apply to our governmental structure, right? The nature of systems placed in your house, like sort of their anti-fragility to the inevitable, uncertainties that will be placed in front of them if they continue to work through those things. And when I mean work, like as design, it's kind of like, oh, this is something that works. It's going to last. So apparently reading things and talking about it with other people is worthwhile and lasts.
Are you supposed to do that?
It's so weird.
So odd. So odd. Oh, that note too. I feel bad. I wasn't paying attention to the comments. We gotta hold on. Let's read this. Does a week worth of training need to be considered? We'll talk about that another time. Sorry, I was so late. Much more like me. Truer words never spoken. He was talking about. You had said something about in a conversation, like interrupting. You were saying something about like cutting someone off to get.
Oh, just now. Yeah, one of the tutors. Yeah. I mean, there was at one point where he and I were just going back and forth. Like nobody else was even talking. I just kept interrupting him because he kept interrupting me, and then we just laughed. And he goes, "I was wondering how long it was going to take for us to get there." And then somebody else jumped in, but I was just like, "Oh, this is fun."
Oh man. Cool. Well, thank you for viewing. We have a second viewer. I'm curious who that is. We have 2 viewers right now.
Oh boy.
Mary in the other room. Cool. Awesome. Hey, Jack.
Hey, Eric.
What's the difference between toilet paper and a shower curtain?
Ooh. I don't know what.
Ugh, you don't know. Not coming to your house anytime soon.
That is such an aggressive joke, but that is so great, right?
I got that from Sam. Sam hit me with that one. I think I've heard something like that. Sam hit me with it the other day. He goes, "What's the difference between this and this?" And I'm like, I feel like this is the joke where if I say, "I don't know, tell me," and then you're gonna have something to say about me not knowing. He goes, "Yeah, that's totally what it is." It's like, dodge that bullet. But I got Joan with it today. Joan got that. Which was great because oh God, why am I drawing? Josh was right next to her. So gross.
That is gross. That's a good one. That's it's an effective use of shame. Well done.
Yes. Good. I'm glad.
Yeah. I find humor in other people's shame. Yeah. It's a good. I'm grateful for other people's shame to provide me humor.
Yeah. Good stuff. Awesome. All right, brother. All right. Now we're officially landing it. Goodbye. Thank you for all of the viewers. And let's go and close this baby out.